I bet Eric Roberts thought he was the star of this movie. I mean, we sure did. Jamie?
Yeah.
Let's go watch Best of the Best.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Good Times, Great Movies. It is here where we discuss a movie from the 1980s. It is a good time. It is maybe a great movie.
Anytime Jamie introduces the show and she says that, she doesn't think it's a very good movie.
It is me, though, Jamie Lorello, here with DP McCambridge. I'm pointing as if you're in the microphone. I don't know.
So we're talking about Best of the Best from 1989.
Late 80s.
Yeah, directed by Robert Radler, who also directed Best of the Best 3.
Oh, there's 3 of these.
Oh, there's 4 of these. I guess he was like, listen, my schedule only allows me to do every other Best of the Best.
I got you.
And now he's just sitting around waiting for 5. But in the meantime, it appears that he just directed a lot of Mighty Morphin Power Ranger episodes.
Oh, well, good for him. That's why he's got all these moves that he can. Although there really wasn't a lot. I mean, I guess there was a lot of fighting. There was more training montages than there was fighting. Although, no, there was some.
He can film a lot of like low angle high kicks.
Yeah.
I guess he sort of knows how to set up that shot. There are things that I appreciate about this movie. Number one is they spend a lot of time at the final fight. Like the final fight comes around with like still about a half hour left of the movie, which is a long time to then, but you do have 5 different fights.
I was going to say, well, it's the final, like it's every one of them fighting and seeing how each of them will
fights
do.
Poorly. Like, and the other thing is I love all the rules and how they constantly have to remind us of the rules. It's like Over the Top. Remember Over the Top? At the end, they're like, everybody, just so you remember, just in case you forgot. I know Sly Stallone just lost, but it is 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
It's 2
He's got
out
more
of
to go.
3.
He's got more to go. I love the announcer at the end there that looks directly at the camera and tells us.
Rashad turns to you as a viewer and is like, listen, in the event of a tie, they have to break cinder blocks.
Yeah.
Just so you know. And then about 5 minutes later, he's like, listen, I know the good guys just lost 3 out of the 5, but don't forget, this is about points.
Right.
It's
We're
not
looking
about
at points.
wins or losses.
Right. And they get points, but I guess they're getting points for some of the moves or some of the hits.
Every time you hit somebody, you get a point. And I guess you
Unless
have to
it's
hit
an
them.
illegal hit, because there was a couple of those done.
Yeah, but the refs didn't see them. I do love how Ahmad Rashad even says that. Oh my God, that was totally illegal.
And the ref hasn't seen it.
Didn't see it. I don't even know what the illegal hit was, because when Tommy stands up and he's like, he has his hands over his eyes, I could not think of anything but Jean-Claude Van Damme in that sand. And I was like, how much more entertaining was that than this movie? I wish I was watching him. You recast Eric Roberts, and I don't mean to spoil my thoughts of the entire movie. You recast Eric Roberts with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
Anyone but Chuck Norris. I think I would take... I would definitely take Eric Roberts over Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
But I don't know anybody. I don't know if I'd take him over anybody else. And this movie is amazing.
I would have to agree that with Jean-Claude, we all know. Well, if you've listened to the other episodes of our Jean-Claude.
He's got a mullet. Yeah. He could do this. He could pretend to cry over his kid.
Yeah.
It's easy enough. The montage where that kid's in the hospital, and we know he's been there for days.
God.
Just
and
because
he's
every
just
time they show him,
staring at him. He's just staring
in a
at him.
different shirt every time. I'm like, well, I guess he's been there a long time.
Yeah.
And why are there no alternates on this team?
Well, they did call the alternates, but we never meet them. They never come through. And really, shouldn't they have been in some of the trainings with them if they were the alternates?
Yes. It's not like you're putting on a production of some sort of player musical
Right.
and then your lead actress gets sick the night before and they're like, I don't know, call the backup, call the alternate, call the understudy. I hope they've been training.
Right,
I hope
right.
they've been practicing their lines because they're up. No, they're there all the time. Like, we needed 2 or 3 other dudes to just be hanging out in the background.
Right. No, we didn't actually, because it was enough to keep up with the dudes that we had for the team.
Yes.
Because there was the Buddhist dude. There was Chris
All right,
Penn.
okay,
All right, let's get into it.
Let's wait until we get there
All
to
right.
explain who these people are. Because one guy is just Detroit. I don't know what else to call him. He doesn't have
Sonny from Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you wrote their names down.
Oh,
All right.
I just remembered because he was all about being Italian, and even when they're at the bar, he's like, "Why isn't no one hitting on me? I'm Italian. I'm good looking."
I like when the Buddhist is like, I used to be Italian, but now I'm a Buddhist.
Yeah.
And Detroit looks very befuddled by this. And so he literally has to go, I'm just kidding. I'm still Italian. All right. So, here's a tip for people that are making movies for us to watch. So I guess it's a tip for people making movies 40 years ago. Don't start your movie with silence for over 30 seconds because Doug's going to think there's something wrong with the sound on his TV. It starts with a production company logo of a bull running at the screen, and it's totally silent.
And Doug's like, something must be wrong here with my TV.
I fast forwarded into the movie and hit play just so I could see if there was sound. And I went back and restarted it, and I went, this still doesn't seem right.
But then, did you feel better when you saw Eric Roberts and his beautiful hair and his V-neck sweater? Did that help?
It did help. For all the criticism I have with Eric Roberts' acting ability in this movie, he looks amazing.
He looks beautiful. He's nice and tan, and he's got this. He's wearing this V-neck sweater that's white, and so you could see that he's.
Yeah.
And the hair, we've mentioned it before. We'll say it throughout, I'm sure, is just. It's noteworthy. It's a noteworthy hairstyle. He
looks like, and it's only because we only saw him in 2 movies. It looks like his character from Star 80 did not commit suicide and just went into hiding. It was like, I'll just grow my hair out long and maybe start a family. Because I have a feeling he may have murdered his wife.
Well, we do find out later. So he's got a kid. We don't know at first how the kid, what happened to the mom. We find out that she's passed. I wish we would have had 1 or 2. I don't know why I wanted it. But like flashbacks with him and her, or like visions where she was like pumping him up, because when you see that she died, and that's kind of sad for him. You want him to kind of still feel connected to him. I do like. I don't want to skip ahead, but when he's at the match and he was like, "My kid's here, Coach. How did my kid get here?"
What are the chances? How did that happen? And James Earl Jones just kind of like, just like winks at him or looks sheepishly like, that was me. I did it. Like, it's such a bizarre reveal. He doesn't even run over and hug his kid. He's just like, look at that.
Yeah.
My kid's here in Korea. But you're right in that I wish we have enough flashbacks in this movie. We could have had a flashback of his wife. But the only time we see his wife, there's a picture
where his hair looks even better in the picture, if you could believe that.
But in the picture, he's holding his kid, has his arm around his wife, and he's looking down her blouse. Like the two of them are looking at whoever's taking this picture. He appears to be looking down her shirt, and that's the only time we see this wife of his.
They're a pretty couple, though. They are a pretty couple. But
it's super awesome.
We meet him, and Eric Roberts is helping his son to. Well, I just wrote helping this boy ride a bike because you don't know at first that it's his son. I was like, is he just like whatever? But it's his son. He's helping his son ride a bike, and I thought the kid. Honestly, I thought we were going to open with a crash. I thought that he was going to be helping his kid ride a bike, and then the kid drives into traffic, and now we're like, oh God, now he's going to like. But no, not yet. He does later.
the amount of time this kid looks behind him as he's riding his
Yes,
bike.
exactly.
It's like, this is so dangerous. And Eric Roberts is such a proud papa, like to such a ridiculous extreme.
It's so extreme. He's like, you are riding your bike. And like you said, the kid keeps looking back like, I'm doing it, Dad. And I'm like, this kid's got to keep his eye on the road or a car's going to come. Luckily, this doesn't happen yet.
Yet.
But later on, we find the
And
kid
I can't
kicking
believe that's the thing that happens.
I
Again,
know.
of no consequence in this movie.
know.
But just the fact that we're like, I don't know. We set up that this kid could ride a bike, so I guess we have to put him in a coma.
Well, and let's show him that Eric Roberts taught him wrong. Eric Roberts did not enforce that he keeps his eyes on the road. He
Right,
kept
exactly.
allowing him
Eric
to
Roberts
look
is like,
behind him.
oh, yeah, looking behind you all the time, great way to ride a bike, kid. But
Not at
no,
all.
he's like got his hands together. It's so funny.
And he's tearing up. You are doing it, and you're doing it by yourself.
He really is playing this like it's some insanely emotional family drama that has a
Did the
side story
wife die on
about a
a bike?
karate match.
Did the wife die on a bike? Is that why it was so moving? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, now we meet Tommy, who runs a Taekwondo studio. He teaches kids Taekwondo. It's really adorable. We talked about the class of kids that he's teaching.
It's very cute.
It's very cute.
I like how he has to pick the one kid up and turn him because he's facing the wrong direction.
And he stops, two kids are fighting, and he stops them from fighting, and the whole, you could see, Tommy is a good teacher, and the kids respect him. And in the middle of the class, I don't know, the Taekwondo, the secretary of the, I'm going to call it a dojo.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah?
He's got quite the thing going. Because when the secretary's like, you really need to look at this, he's even like, hey, other, like, adults just hanging out in the back, you take over. There's multiple people just standing around teaching this class.
Yeah.
I love it. He must be very successful.
He's good at it, yeah. But as it turns out, this letter says that Tommy has been invited to try out for the U.S. karate team.
Taekwondo team.
I wrote down karate, but you might be right.
No, I'm sorry. I'm only saying that because before we started recording, you kept saying Taekwondo. And I'm like, oh, I never wrote the fighting style. So, all right, good enough.
All right.
Oh, it is important, I think, to note that two of these kids in his class are having a fight.
Yeah.
And he breaks them up and he's like, listen, what have I taught you? Be nice to each other. Only use fighting for defense or what, stuff that Mr. Miyagi says. And so it's important to him. Also, Tommy wrote this movie.
He did? So do you think he did write it for himself? And then they were like, but Eric Roberts really wants a role.
But we got Eric Roberts. Fine. I'll be the guy who works in the dojo and not the guy who lost his wife. And he's constantly bringing the pages, and they're like, what? Your brother was killed by the guy you're fighting?
With the patch.
How are we going to do this?
The guy
How are
with
we
the
going
eye
to show
patch.
this? Well, I wrote pages of flashbacks. Just use some of those.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Tommy's the writer. Okay.
So during this is where we sort of see that we do kind of have two leads in this movie. I jokingly said earlier, I'm not sure who the lead is, but you're right, because now we go back to Eric Roberts, who also finds out that he made this team or is invited to compete or something. And his mother, Nurse Ratched, which I thought was great. We also saw her as the evil grandma in Flowers in the Attic, which I kind of forgot about. She's very worried about his shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
And his kid. And I love it how he's like, listen, I got nothing here for me.
Yeah.
That kid, he's a waste of my time. I got to make it, Mom.
Yeah, this is all he loves. And then he goes and he's like, don't worry about the kid. I'll get the kid's approval. And the kid is pretty good. They read a lovely bedtime story together.
Yep.
And the kid is very supportive. And basically it's just like, well, you better win, Dad. That's bottom line.
You know that he's able to somehow hypnotize that kid with his hair or something like that, where he's like, this kid's not going to ask me any questions about this. Because he's even like, I'm going to be away for a while, a couple months. And the kid's like, 2? He's like, well, no, 3.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe while I'm gone, don't ride your bike.
Or at least look ahead of you when you're riding.
Look ahead of you. There is one thing I forgot to tell you about riding a bike.
You got to watch the road.
Watch where you're going.
Yeah, don't always look behind you where Nana is. That's not the best way.
Maybe put on a helmet, although, it wouldn't have helped with his leg. but it may have helped him from slipping into a coma.
Right. True. But he was out of it pretty quickly. He's a kid. He's pretty resilient.
They give us... I love also the conversation with the doctor happens off screen. It's just voiceover of a doctor going, yeah, it was a pretty bad accident. You shouldn't be too worried about his leg. His leg will be just fine. What you should really be concerned with is the fact that your son's in a coma. It's like, wow, okay, we're getting all this over footage of him driving to a hospital. Oh my God. All right. So one thing that does happen is we cut back and forth a lot more on montages to the Korean team. And
They're
the way
intense.
that they're training, they're picking their fighters. They're not as warm and lovable as this American team.
No, not at all.
But it's also kind of the opposite of Rocky IV, because it appears that the American team has like the advantages of all the modern technology and stuff, and the Koreans are like running through the snow.
They're all outside.
Training
doing
in waterfalls.
all
Doing a little TLC at one point. When that guy's under the waterfall, I was like, oh, his eye patch is going to be so wet after all this. And I really said, I understand people can overcome their disabilities, but I would assume that having one eye is really going to affect your depth perception while you're fighting.
Yeah. Well, he's overcome it somehow. And how did he? Oh, and he's blind in that one eye, it looks like.
You mean the one with the eye patch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. Yeah, later on when it's exposed, you can see that it's kind of cloudy.
Well, so while the Koreans are in their training mode, we're just getting the tryouts going. So these letters were received by, looks like a good handful. I'm going to say maybe 50 or so, maybe more guys have to go out and literally sort of do this audition, this tryout for
I like to think of it as
to make
an audition.
to make the team, right?
Yeah.
And James Earl Jones is one of the judges, and he's just kind of watching them. They're kind of got all these little mini fights set up, and they rotate through each other. And we meet the five competitors that stand out are obviously the ones that are going to get chosen. So we meet.
Now, before you talk about these, I do think James Earl Jones has a great opening line in this movie, because he says, it's like a goddamn circus. And you can see they're under a circus tent. And I thought that was really fantastic. He also gets the titular line. And if you can have James Earl Jones say the titular line of your movie, you got to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And he does. We're looking for the best of the best.
Yes.
There's also a titular song that plays during one of the montages, I believe.
Yeah, and it's very much like, you're the best
Yeah.
of the best. We're not going to get sued for this song. We're the best of the best. It's like, wow, this is really terrible. No, but now you can introduce our U.S. team, U.S. competitors.
The five men that make it are
Sure.
Travis. That is, which one is Travis?
Okay, you're doing great so far.
Travis is Chris Penn, right? Travis is Chris Penn. Sonny, which is the Detroit guy, or the guy from Michigan. He's the Italian. Tommy, who we've met already. The Buddhist. I don't remember his name.
Who knows?
He's just the Buddhist. And Alex Grady. And Alex is, and out of all of the lists, so James Earl Jones picks his five, but whoever his assistant coach is, the only one that stands out to him is like, well, Alex Grady's got that bum shoulder. Are you sure you want that guy? And James Earl Jones is like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I expected him to be like, that guy? He's got to be at least 10 years older than anybody else on this team. Are you sure you want him?
No, but he makes the cut. And James Earl Jones, Frank, or Mr. Cuso, Coach Cuso.
Sure.
Here are the rules. I wrote them down for the team. No women, no alcohol, no drugs. Don't be late. And this is a team effort. We work as a team.
It is a real, I'm going to be a tough coach. This is my tough coach speech. You pieces of shit. Don't come in here. I love when he's like, don't be late. It's an insult to me and your country and your teammates.
Yeah.
It's a whole big, like, he lays down the law so we can see his entire character arc. Again, a thing where it's like, oh man, you're such a tough coach. No, I'm a pretty good guy.
Yeah, no, down deep, I'm a really good guy. And
But not even down deep. It's like they turn a switch and it's suddenly James Earl Jones, nice guy.
nice coach Caruso.
But yeah, this is his team. He's picked them. He's going to train them.
Mm-hmm.
That old guy, I love how that old guy just pops in from time to time to be like, well, I guess I'm the arch rival of James Earl Jones. Goodbye, movie. Maybe I'll see you in Korea. Now they go and they sort of pair up to share hotel rooms. Oh, this character is not important at all. But because we need an even amount of people, they introduce, I'm going to call this guy an assistant coach who might be a statistician or something.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't come to anything, but it's just so that who rooms with him? Oh, Detroit.
Detroit rooms with him, yeah.
Yeah. It's just so Detroit can have a roommate that's not James Earl Jones.
Yeah. But the roommate situation's funny. He's paired with him. The meditating Buddhist guy, I thought was going to be with Detroit because they kind of hit it off during the initial tryouts. But he ends up getting paired with Travis.
Yeah. And then I kind of thought, oh, are they just like pairing them with like their opposites? Like this hard working blue collar guy from Detroit is with this statistics nerd.
Right.
And then I was like, well, no, wait. It's Tommy and Eric Roberts, who are fast friends, just hanging out together.
Mm-hmm. They get to room. They're doing. Is there? I might have wrote this down wrong or heard it wrong.
Oh, did you write about outer labias? Because
Yes,
I did.
yes.
Oh my God. I can't even believe I said that jokingly as though that was going to be what you were talking about.
Because there was a minute where I was, I mean, like I'm just going to admit it. Sometimes these movies, you're kind of paying attention, then you're not. And I'm like, okay, this is the roommate situation. Okay. So I wasn't paying attention to the conversation these two roommates were having. But then we see the Buddhist guy and the Travis dude, and Travis is wanting to get ready for their night out. And I don't know what he said prior to it, but I know the Buddhist guy looks at him and goes, so really inner labia and outer labia? And I was like, wait a minute. But I didn't rewind to see what the conversation was about.
Jamie, you missed nothing? It really is. He's like, come on, we're going to go out. It'd be great. Maybe we can meet some women, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you want to just stay here? Fine, you can stay here. I'll go out by myself. That is all he says.
So
it's not
where does
weird
labia come in?
I don't I have no idea. I have no idea because he really does. He appears to be in deep meditation. And then, like you said, kind of like as Chris Penn's on his way out the door, he's like, hey, inner and outer labia? I was like, wait, what are you?
It's almost like
Chris
they
Penn
knew.
just like winks and nods and then smash cut to a bar.
It's almost like they knew the audience is probably not going to be paying attention during all of this.
Right.
So we'll just say something about labia. What? What?
I like to imagine Tommy watching this movie during the premiere and being like, I didn't write that. Who wrote that?
We just wanted to see if we could get away with it. And we did. Yeah, I thought this movie was going to take a raunchy turn because then we were at the bar and I was like, oh no, what are we going to do with this? But we're at the bar because this is the last night out before they get to hardcore training. And basically that's what it is they're like, all right, get your drinks on, get your ladies on, whatever you guys got to do because there's no more of this after tonight.
Yeah, because James Earl Jones says as much because he's like, and you have one night and you guys might even get laid. But I love how he's even like, but the discernible women of this town, I highly doubt it.
And this is where the Italian guy, Sonny, is very upset because he's not getting any ladies. And he says, women love me. I'm Italian.
So much of this movie are characters saying lines in a very loud environment and another character saying, what? And then the character repeating their line. It happens twice in this bar. It happens once while they are working out or training. It happens another time when Tommy starts his motorcycle and Eric Roberts is talking to him. He literally goes, what? And it says the same thing again. I couldn't believe how many times this happened in this movie. And I have to imagine it's just kind of like they honestly could not hear each other, didn't know where they were in the script, had to repeat it, and they're like, no, we'll keep it in the movie. It's fine.
Keep it. It makes it look natural. It's all good.
The Italian guy, like you said, is not having luck with women. Eric Roberts doesn't seem to be trying. He's still mourning the loss of his wife.
And Tommy's not really into it either. He's not into picking up any ladies.
Yeah. Until the fight starts, I didn't really see what Tommy was doing.
I think he's just hanging out with Eric Roberts. I think the two of them are just buddies. Right?
Yeah.
Because the Buddhist guy does find a girl to hit on, or a girl hits on him, and he's all.
He does make some sort of Irish coffee joke.
He wants a warm Irish coffee, and it's not warm enough.
It's. I actually thought it was kind of a funny, not like a pickup line, but I thought it was kind of clever because he does spill something on her, and he's like, "Oh my God, I hope you're not burned." And she's like, "No, I'm not burned." And he yells at the bartender, and he's like, "I told you to make my Irish coffee hot." And then they kind of share a laugh about this, and I was like, "All right, that's kind of a funny joke." But no, he's dancing with some lady. And then Chris Penn ends up dancing with some lady that he was making eyesies at from across the bar. And we find out that she is one of these hillbillies girls. And it's a fight that is almost diffused, but then just becomes pretty bad. And I love how Eric Roberts is on the phone the whole time while this fight's going on.
He goes to make a collect call to his son.
Collect call? Well, collect call.
That's what he
Come
does.
on.
That's what
You're
he
an
does.
adult. You are an adult man.
But it's not easy. It's not easy.
I know.
So he goes and you're right, he's off making a call while this fight scene happens. Tommy kicks a cigarette out of somebody's hand, almost to show what an
It's
intense.
out of his mouth. Because that guy's like, "Whoa, hey, all right, we don't want anything to do with you guys."
We're all right. And James Earl Jones, again, this is the team. I thought maybe they were going to get in trouble for having a fight like this. But James Earl Jones sits back at the bar and watches this fight go down as if to be like, let me watch these guys
He is
in
taking
action.
shots of whiskey, just having a ball on his own, watching his guys, again, it's almost like watching his Olympic team get into a bar fight.
Yep.
There is broken wood everywhere, glass all over the place.
Slow
and he's
motion
like, I don't
broken
know.
glass.
Let's see how this can shake out.
Yeah.
It can't be good. You could sustain serious injuries.
Right? Then you can have team members that can't compete. But turns out okay. Tommy does say at one point, I didn't want this to go down like this. This is not what I wanted. But they essentially win the fight, right? I know there's some slow motion broken glass and
it's just a bunch of guys in cowboy boots and flannel laying on the ground.
Yeah.
And James Earl Jones is kind of like, all right, guys, we had our fun.
we got more
Let's
training
get out
to
of
do.
here.
Right.
Right.
Now, who is this actress that comes in? What's her name?
I don't know.
Oh,
I had a feeling you were going to ask me what her name was.
Yeah.
She was nominated for an Academy Award. For what? I don't know.
Oh, it's like, not for this.
Nope. Yep, this swept the Oscars.
I was like, Anyway, I do appreciate that they have. She's an actress. She's a beautiful blonde woman that comes in with a little more expertise. Again, though, I wish she is always in not a suit, but like a formal wear when she's coaching.
Yeah,
but she claims that she's a well-trained. She knows meditation and yoga and has studied the Eastern philosophies and understands their fight techniques and is a fighter herself. James Earl Jones is very against her being on the team. He's like, I can handle this. I don't know why they're bringing you on. And she's like, to make this whole thing well-rounded. Right. I wanted, again, we do get to see her. She karate chops the bricks at one point, but I wanted to see her even get a little more fight in her. Although I appreciate that they brought a woman on, and even though they make some comments here and there, Chris Penn especially, ooh, hey, she is not necessarily a love interest, which I liked, because I was nervous at first. We're introducing her, and now...
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
I was ready for her, she, and Eric Roberts to make out at the end of this movie. And I'm so glad it didn't happen.
Me too.
I know what they're doing. It was done in Top Gun. It's a woman who comes in and she's in charge of these men, and she falls in love with one of them.
But there's no time for love in the best of the best.
Oh no!
There's no time.
We have no time. No, there's time for punching,
and there's time for flashbacks.
Kicking.
There's time for some.
Oh, there's always time for flashbacks.
Ice cream cone
and,
flashbacks.
Motorcycle rides.
Right.
But that's it. That motorcycle ride is kind of the closest thing we get to a sex scene in this movie. It's got some very sexy music playing. Yeah, so she comes in and she's like, listen, you're here to train their bodies. I'm
Right.
here to train their minds.
Right.
She knows all about Eastern religions and martial arts and stuff like that. Because she basically tells him, hey, the Koreans have been living this lifestyle.
Right.
I have to try and train you in it in just 3 months.
Yeah.
Let's get to work.
Right.
And like you said, Chris Penn, again, because they have so many, they tried to cram so much shit in this movie. Like, Chris Penn is kind of a bad teammate for a little bit.
Yeah.
He does say some terrible things briefly, but it's nothing that ever seems to be on the verge of boiling over into something horrible. Like, he's really mean to Tommy
Yeah.
until he makes the joke, until he asks Tommy if he's yellow, and Tommy's like, well,
Oh,
obviously.
yeah.
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 And then everybody has a good laugh. And I guess that's it. And again, he makes fun of her until he sees her punch some bricks.
Oh, yeah. And
that's
then
it.
he
So it's
softens again.
fine.
Yep. Then it's.
Yes. It really is just these singular things that have to happen for conflict
For the
in this
turnaround,
movie
yeah.
to be diffused. Yeah. All right. So, I like how day one of training, they have to run around the track a lot. And Eric Roberts is like, I don't think I can.
He's already winded. Yeah, he's already having a tough time of it. He's
It's
like, this
it's
is a
day
lot.
one. And also, Chris Penn can't even keep up with you guys. You're
No.
doing fine.
No, and the first day of training is running and sit-ups. Again, they have 3 months to train. That's not a long time. It's going to go
not a
so
long
fast.
time.
And
Yes. It's
Yeah.
not a long time. And 3 times around the track, Eric Roberts is like, oh,
I can't do this.
I didn't know we'd be working out.
And again, running doesn't, I mean, I guess it involves a little shoulder work, but his injury is in his shoulder, not in his knees. So you would think that
Later on, when
lifting would
his
be
shoulder
hard.
is injured and he appears that he's grabbing the back of his leg, I didn't know what he was doing. Like, as an actor, a lot of this movie, I didn't know what he was doing. I guess they were just like, I don't know, pretend your shoulder's all fucked up. And he's like, well, I guess I can turn it behind my back. And that looks like it's a mess, right? This is where James Earl Jones tells them, because I guess they're not aware of this, if there's ties, then you have to break cinder blocks. And then this is where he's like, I'm going to humiliate this woman by telling her to break these. And she totally breaks
Yeah,
them.
she does. She does it.
She's great.
And even that's when the whole team is like, wow,
Yep.
she's awesome.
Yeah.
Is this...
I just wrote racist jokes, so I think we can skip most of that.
Oh, race. Okay. I have there's a training montage. There's yoga. There's running in the snow. They're doing steps. I do like that she's teaching them yoga. But later on, so she's supposed to be, kind of getting their minds all in order. But when they're actually in the fight, her like later when they're actually at the competition, she doesn't give them any like I don't know, meditative
No.
advice. She just
No.
literally says, "Go out and get them."
Everything she has been doing
Although
and everything James Earl Jones has been doing through the whole movie is thrown out the window during this fight. Because even James Earl Jones, like I said, pulled back in who knows how many months after shooting to shoot his own scenes alone in a room, is just sitting there like making reaction faces and then just going, yeah. And then later when he goes, no, and it's just like a slow motion no by James Earl Jones. I never knew I wanted to see that in a movie, but when it happened, I went, that's so weird. I thought it would be so much more interesting. She does some yoga, but I don't know. It's not even much yoga or meditation.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. When she tells him, she does yoga. She does a little bit of meditation. She's telling them at one point to get in touch with their chi and visualize. And Travis, or the Chris Penn character, is like, this is kind of bullshit. But when they're actually at the competition in the fight and Eric Roberts hurts his shoulder, that's when she's whispering, the pain isn't there. You are not the pain. But again, when they go into the fights, I thought she was going to be like, you rise above it. Anyway.
And no. I think it's fair to talk about that because, like you said, when his shoulder's just a mess, and like you said, she is whispering, the pain isn't there, he goes back out to fight, and they're all like, how could he possibly do... Even her. And like everybody's like, I can't even believe what I'm seeing right now. What? How? Athletes participate hurt all the time.
Right.
And it just appears that his shoulder was popped out of socket. I'm not trying to downplay this injury at all, but it really is like, because he's like, pop it back in, pop it back in, pop it. He yells that 45 times in a row, and then they do. And then
he says, strap it up, tie it up, tie it up. I didn't realize that's how they were going to handle it either. I thought once they pop it back in, he could use it again, but it's fragile.
I like how his mother early in this movie is like, you could be paralyzed. I'm like, oh, I mean, I guess if you lose like one arm, that's still considered paralysis, but that's not what I think of when I think of paralyzed.
Well, she's a mother. No. She's worried.
No, at the end of this movie, at the very end, I was like, so does he never have use of that arm again? I know we're not supposed to be thinking that, but his mom put that thought in my head at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And does the son have use of his leg? What is this?
Yeah.
So this was one of our first training montages. We get to see the lady chop the bricks, like you said. And then part of their training is watching videos of their competitors.
Right.
And I
that
like
is
this
most
too.
of their training.
It's slow motion videos of how their competitors fight with a little less in there, a little background from James Earl Jones, giving them some information. Yeah. And this is when we get a little more background on Tommy. Just a little. And
a lot of what is happening with Tommy is told in flashback.
Yes.
And never really explained what I'm seeing for a very long time in this movie. I'm like, so somebody got kicked, I guess, to death somewhere at some point. Yeah. And I guess this is Tommy. He's sad. Like, I could not quite put everything together for a while. And that might be my fault.
Well, I wasn't, there was an older guy, right? I wasn't sure at first, was that Tommy's dad? No, maybe the older brother. But Tommy is at a competition enjoying his ice cream, and he drops the ice cream, and it looks like his older brother or some older kin of his is in a fight with the guy with the patch. Who has the patch at that time?
He does not have the patch, and that's why it's even more confusing. I'm like, if your villain has an eye patch, now
let's stay consistent.
You have to give him an eye patch earlier.
That's how we know he's the bad guy, right? Unless during the fight, the brother poked him in the eye and took out the eye, and that's how we know the eye patch happened.
I'm already having too much trouble keeping track of characters. Please don't shave your face, Buddha guy, because you don't look like the same character
who is this
anymore.
Guy? Exactly.
So he has all sorts of weird flashbacks. And go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Because we have another workout montage. This one to the titular song "Best of the Best," and this workout montage, where the other one was more of them like the yoga, the running in the snow. This one is just a lot of wet muscles and blue lighting. It's like the sexy montage, right?
Oh, it is 100%.
It's them kind of pump and iron a little bit. We're not worried about the shoulder because we're lifting weights. Yes. And it's a lot of topless. It's a lot of glossy, sweaty chests.
And we've seen, this is our second montage in about 3 minutes of this movie. Yeah. It's like they had 2 montages and were editing this and did not know what to do in between. So they just shoved a flashback in there and then went, now back to the montages.
Back to the montage. Yeah.
This time, they're all shirtless.
Yeah, exactly. Sexy blue lighting. But now, after that, we're back to another flashback. This time, Tommy can see his dying brother on the floor. We see this one a lot, where his mom's kind of holding the dying brother. Yes. And Tommy's taking out all his anger on a punching bag. Is this when, or is it later when? When Eric Roberts goes up to him and is like, "What's going on, man? Like, what's going on?" And Tommy's like, I can't fight this guy. He killed my brother. And Eric Roberts is like, why didn't you tell me this? How am I just finding out about this? We've been roommates and working out and having all these wonderful montages.
That's a little bit later because that is amazing. Because that's when he's like, listen, you have a chance to avenge your brother.
Yeah.
My wife died. It really is like oh, yeah, you have it bad? My wife's dead. And guess who I can't kill? The person who killed her. But you can do it. It is such a weird, like, oh, yeah, now you have terrible problems. I have the same problems, and they might be worse. Let me tell you about it for a while. It's really amazing. Now he gets a phone call. Talking about Eric Roberts.
Eric Roberts does.
Gets a phone call. And it's a real fun, like, one-sided phone call where you don't hear the person. He's like, oh, my God. Oh, no. What? Oh my. And he has to run. It's just him running around. It's him running in to talk to James Earl Jones and then turning and running away. And James Earl Jones yelling, you'll never be part of this team. Don't come back. Blah, 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 whatever. It's super fun. Because he's even like, my kid might lose his leg. And he's like, well, I'm sorry. You signed up for 3 months, buddy.
Well, and they're leaving in 3 days. He's like, we have to be on the plane in 3 days. This is probably like, we're getting very intense in the workouts. The montages are going to get more intense. They just did a beautiful montage, by the way, on the beach where they were running to the classical music on the beach. Yep. That's pretty great.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It appears that Eric Roberts has been there for 2 months and 27 days. Yes. And he's like, I got to go.
And he's like, I'll be back in time. And you're right. Yeah. The coach is like, no, if you leave, you're gone. And Eric can't even. He's like, well, I mean, then I'm going because it's my kid. And right away, like you said, we find out that this is not just a car accident or a bike accident where he's hurt his leg. His son is in a coma.
And again, who was he on the phone with? That is what you lead with. I want to say his
mom called.
You lead with the coma, and then maybe you talk about a broken leg.
Yeah.
Like the fact that his mom was like, the worst thing happened. Your son broke his leg.
Oh, and he's not waking up. Maybe say that. Tommy, or he doesn't find Alex is his name. It doesn't find out until he gets there that the son, like you said, it's a voiceover thing where the doctor's like, oh yeah, the leg we're not worried about. It's the fact that he's not conscious that and now we get a montage of Eric Roberts just staring at his son from the corner of the hospital room. Eric Roberts
sitting in a hospital room in front of various lights. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he's in front of a lamp. Another time you can see that the shades, like the lights coming in through the blinds.
Right, it's morning maybe.
He's sitting there next to that breathing machine at one point where focus continues to change from the machine to him, then back to the machine again.
He's worried.
We're just taking a break from all the training montages, all the kicking, to just wait for this kid to wake up and Eric Roberts to be like, oh, great. You woke up, kid. You're the best ever. And then he flies back.
Now he's
I guess
go back
on his own dime?
I know. He's got to collect calls from the bar, but he can fly to and from.
I don't think he can afford
he's from Oregon, right? Because
yes. Mm-hmm. And also, and I don't know where they're training.
I don't know.
I have no idea where they are. And also, just like we mentioned, as he runs out of the gym, James Earl Jones does say, I don't know. Call the alternate. I was like, you're going to call some guy who's been sitting on his ass at home for 3 months?
And train him in 3 days, but you won't give this guy a 3-day break? All right.
Yep.
All right. But when Eric comes back, he basically says, and again, such terrible acting, but like good, like so bad that it's good. He's crying and he's like, do you want me to beg you? Do you want me to beg you? Fine. Then I'm going to beg you to be part of the team again. And he says he begs James Earl Jones and says the team means everything to him. And please don't take that away from me. And basically James Earl Jones is like, well, yeah, no, you can't. You left.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
And I love how Eric Roberts is like, fine, then I'm going to go back to the hotel and I'm going to have a shave and I'm going to hang around for a little while.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just still there later that day. I thought he was going to get on a plane and go back. I didn't. I know where it's going to happen in this movie. But while all of this is going on, they're still training without their alternate. That guy's Eric Roberts left, sat with his kid for days, came back. The alternate's still not there.
They can't get in touch
I don't know if this guy's hitchhiking or something. But they have like a kick machine that measures your kick speed.
The power of your kicks. Mm-hmm.
Right. And this is where James Earl Jones is really mad at Tommy for pulling his punches.
Because
And
he's not
basically-
fighting as hard as he can. He doesn't believe in himself. He's holding back.
Right, yes. And then he kind of possibly kicks this Buddhist to death.
Oh, yeah. He gives it.
He kicks him so hard, he's out. And then he stamps his feet, whines and cries and runs away.
He gets scared that maybe he killed somebody. And of all people, this sweet Buddhist guy. But the Buddhist guy, Virgil, I think his name is, finally does wake up and he is okay. Tommy's glad he's okay.
I do think and maybe it's just the Buddhist guy and how he can deliver these lines when they say, "Do you know where you are?" And he says, "I'm on the floor." I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, me too. I did like that too.
Right.
Oh, this is now when Alex and Tommy, Eric Roberts and Tommy have their heart to heart. And Tommy
my
says,
God.
well, I'm just afraid. I'm afraid of this guy. And this is when Alex tells him, you can't hide the pain and pack it all in like I did. Because you're going to pack it all in. Your brother's gone. My wife is gone. And I've been packing
When my wife
that in.
died, I packed it all in.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And how is... I mean, I understand one thing is kind of related to the other, but you don't have a cool motorcycle.
Right.
You had to fly home. He's going to just ride his bike. It's really cool because he does take off, and this is where we get some smooth jazz and just a really sexy number as he rides his bike off. And we spend way too long just watching him ride his bike.
Mm-hmm.
When you texted me and said, "Hey, have fun on your motorcycle ride," I was barely in this movie, and I was like, "Oh my God, I hope there's some sort of motorcycle fight scene or something." I was not expecting this.
Yeah. It's a sweet little, just, I don't know, over the coast. I don't know what road he's on, but.
Oh, can we talk now about how the woman trainer is digging through their files?
Oh, yes. Well, because she wants to know, she could feel there's some kind of cover up there with Tommy. Why are we pushing Tommy to fight this guy so bad? And
I appreciate the fact that you referred to this as a cover up where it really does seem like some weird black ops government stuff. Because she's like, there's pages pulled out of his dossier.
Yeah.
Where are these missing pages? And that nerd has to be like, listen, here's the VHS tape. Don't tell anyone I gave it to you.
You didn't get it from me. But now she knows. And now she's really kind of mad at the coach. And she's like, you are really pushing these guys.
Oh, her name's Catherine Wade. I finally wrote it down. Not the actress, but her
character's name?
Yes. I wrote it down this late into the movie.
Well, it's good. It's there. So there's that.
Yeah,
At least you
sure.
never write down characters' names. So I'm very proud of you.
I don't.
Good job.
Okay.
The team, this is very sweet. The team approaches the coach and says they want Tommy and Alex back. They don't want to fight without them. The coach has to figure out a way. And
well, it's more important that when you say team, there's only three of them left.
Three, yeah.
But it's even more important because Detroit is like a stammering fool and can't seem to get the words out. So Chris Penn, sourpuss, don't want to be a part of the team. Chris Penn has to say it like, we want him back.
Yep.
We want both of them back.
Yep.
Or we're not going to participate. And you got to call 5 alternates. And the first one hasn't even shown up yet, James Earl Jones.
So good luck.
Good luck.
Right?
Parts of this movie that are cut out make no sense at all. Because, like I said, Eric Roberts goes back to the hotel to have a shave for some reason. And James Earl Jones opens the door and walks in, and we see nothing. The scene cuts completely to him being back with them. Whatever heart to heart was written, it must have been so ridiculous they decided not to use it.
They were like,
for
we're
this
not
movie.
even. Yeah.
And given the amount of crying we've already seen from these characters, I'm amazed that whatever it was so bad they didn't use it. But to fill this time, we watch Tommy pull up for gas because it's a long ride to wherever he's from.
He's got it, yeah.
And he watches a little kid drop an ice cream cone on the ground and watches, I guess, his brother give him his ice cream cone. And this moves him.
Tears him up.
So much that he turns around and goes back to the team.
Yeah. He knows this
At
is
the
a
airport.
sign. This is a sign for him, right?
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
Of some kind. Yeah.
Well, he shows up at the airport because they kind of don't know that he's coming back.
Yeah.
So I guess they're like, we'll fly there as a team of 4, and I guess that alternate will find us eventually in Korea. but he shows up, and I love how his reaction to the fact that the Buddhist shaved isn't like, oh, last time I saw you, I thought you were dead on the floor, and I thought I killed you. His reaction is, hey, you shaved your beard, man, and you kind of look like a less terrifying James Spader now. But no, everything's fine. Chris Penn is all smiles.
Yeah.
They are such a team
They shake
now.
hands. Yep.
Right. James Earl Jones is light as a feather, and he's laughing and yucking it up with them. You know, she, I guess, taught them to all achieve inner peace, and now everyone's just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah,
at this
we're all in a
point.
good place flying over to Korea for this competition, right? Coach
Yep.
gives them a nice little pep talk to be the best of the best, again, using his titular lines, pulling them when he has to. And then, like you said, now we have the rest of the movie is for this competition. And
Welcome to the Taekwondo Championship.
Yes.
I'm Ahmad Rashad. I'll be filming my scenes in a back closet at ABC Studios between doing basketball games. It really takes it forever. Eventually, they do show him from the side, and you see other people in spotlights in the background. But most of the time, they cut to him. It's him alone in darkness. Just nothing around him, and him calling this. And like I said before, everybody else seems to be shooting this at different times, different locations. Even the audience doesn't seem to be looking in the same direction ever. You see so many people. I don't know if one of the fun things that I like to see now that I became aware of it in one show, you know how people, like background actors, they'll like mouth words and stuff. Yeah. I was watching something once where two of the main characters were in a stadium while a sporting event was going on. And these characters were having a conversation, but people around them were supposed to pretend to be cheering. And watching people fake clap was so much fun. All of this is fake clapping. Like, nobody's hands are connecting. People are going really hard and then stopping at the very last second. It was so much fun to watch these people.
I didn't focus as much on that, but I could see where it would have been. Yeah. Yeah, because the
yeah.
crowd they were a mismatched crowd of
I don't know, because it's also shot like, remember in Teen Wolf 2 when they had that boxing match? And I guess they couldn't afford extras, so everything around them was dark.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
When they're kicking, you do not see an audience. And then they show an audience that is so brightly lit, like they're outside. None of this stuff matches up, and it's really terrible. Like, it's laughably bad how all of this was put together. So much fun. I could not. I know your thoughts about this movie, but at the end here when they are fighting, I had no interest who was winning or losing and kicking, but I had so much fun just watching
it all go
this is
down.
all put
I
together.
did. Well, and that's something I did enjoy, because you didn't necessarily have to like the fighting or follow the fighting, to follow, there was enough. Like you said, there was 5 people we had to watch fight, first of all. And we had to first watch, first, of course, in this audience that you talk about, what's my son doing here? When he spots his son up in the audience. And his kids, I almost wanted his son to be eating an ice cream cone. And Tommy'd be like, no, ice cream in the... No. But his son and his mom are there. And then we get to see Sonny, the Italian guy.
Detroit.
He loses his match.
Yes.
Virgil, the Buddhist, gets his butt kicked. It's not a...
Yeah.
He does end up breaking...
They kind of put their weakest players out there first.
He does
like,
break
this seems
bricks,
to be,
right?
If James Earl Jones did anything, it is that he knows how to build tension. It's like, these two guys, not as good.
Yeah.
Let's go down big and we can work our way back from a deficit.
Right. Travis, or the Chris Penn guy, his fight's a little more intense. They have to go down to breaking bricks, right? They get the tie.
Yeah. Chris Penn, starts yelling a bunch of shit. And I was like, is he yelling racist stuff? Because the whole crowd starts booing. I'm like, I don't think so. I think he's just like, I'm going to kick your butt,
Yeah,
dude.
he just says
kill you,
things.
Man.
Yeah, I think he says, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to cut you. Or,
And it wasn't until that point that I realized, oh, nobody's saying anything.
Yeah.
They're not talking. First of all, they can't speak the same language. We see a little bit of it later. But the thing that stood out to me about this final fight, the thing we've been building toward this entire movie, the bar fight was so much more fun.
Yeah.
Like, it was so much more creative and interesting, and it was just way more fun to watch than these, like, sanctioned rule following, and I understand you have to do that. Like, I don't think in any of those Rocky movies he ever, like, just beat up a bunch of dudes at a bar. But I would imagine it would probably be more fun than the fights at the end of that movie. But they don't do that in Rocky because they're like, I don't know, let's wait for the regular fights. But in this, they kind of did the best thing early on when it came to fighting.
The more fun thing, yeah. The more fun fight earlier, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you're right in that Chris Penn and the other guy, it comes down to breaking things. And Chris Penn does an amazing job, but the other guy breaks one more.
I like it when Chris Penn's like, why do you got to count them? Like,
Yes,
it's clear.
I have 3 that aren't broken. Why'd you have to pick the one up off the floor that he didn't break just to put it on the other one to count that he didn't break 2? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're still very proud of him. They're a very, encouraging team.
That's part of the rules.
Give him a bunch of hugs.
Yeah, that's part of the rules was that they are a team. No women, no booze, no drugs, and they are a team. Yeah.
And again, this is when we've seen 3 Americans up and 3 Americans go down.
Yeah.
So Ahmad Rashad has done this math, and he's like, there's only 2 Americans left, but folks, don't forget, this is a points thing.
Right.
So at the end, every hit is a point, and at the end, all the points are totaled up. Also, there's this point scoreboard. Not sure if we showed it to you before this, but now we'll show you nothing but this scoreboard for the rest of the movie.
Be mindful, it is close. The points are close, too.
Sure.
Once they
Yeah,
showed to us.
and this is another point in the movie where I was like, oh, I don't think Eric Roberts is the main character because he's not the last one to fight.
No.
I mean, his fight is pretty dramatic.
Oh, it
we
is.
We yelled "Pop it" a lot.
Oh, yes. He gets a high five before he fights. He gets a high five from his buddy, Tommy. And like I said,
I would have totally loved if that was what blew out his shoulder.
Like, no, that's a hearty high five.
I want someone to cut a fan edit of this together, and he slaps high five, and then immediately cut to when he's on the ground yelling and screaming. Right.
It's Alex too that talks shit. By round 2, he says, "I'm going to take your head off." I wrote that down because we thought it was
Yeah,
Chris
that's when he's
Penn.
all right. That's when he's all beat up. Also, we start to see that these rounds are timed, and they almost get to go to their corners. Those first 2 guys, I guess they got beat up so quickly.
They didn't even have time to corner themselves.
Yeah, because we watch Eric Roberts and Tommy both go to their corners in the middle of these fights and sort of get pep talks, and they're really beat up. Like, Eric Roberts is totally bloody. His mouth is starting to go crooked, and he's still a young man.
But this is he could do it. He could do it. He gets his pep talk. He goes back out there. But then it's a leg chop to the shoulder, right? I think that he gets kicked in the shoulder. And that's when it's this could be the fatal blow to the whole thing. He's got an injury. He screams like a lady, like you said. They pull him off the mat. They're like, all right, we're going to have to call the fight. And he's like, no, pop it back in. Pop it back in.
Oh, no, pop it back in. Oh.
Then he asks him, tape it up. Tape it up.
The way he is reacting. The way he's reacting the whole time, I almost expected to cut back to the Korean guy for him to like be looking side to side like, is this real? Like, is he trying to get in my head with this? Because none of this seems genuine at all.
He's on. They're not sure if he's gonna. He's determined. He's gonna go back in the fight. I think it's Tommy that pops the arm back in, and then it's not just taped up. Like when he was screaming, "Tape it up!" I thought they had to put like some, I don't know, some like athlete blue tape on there, like Ben Gay, or I don't know what I thought,
or almost like after a pitcher or a tennis player. Afterwards, they have like a pile of ice and it's just wrapped with an ace bandage. Yes, I didn't know they were going to take like shoelaces and tie his arm to his body.
He goes back in the fight, and basically he can't use the whole left side of his body. Like, he could use his feet, but his arm is taped to his body, and he's got to now finish the fight. And you're like,
yes.
Was this the best idea? But it doesn't take much. He does like a one-armed hi-ya and a kick and a slap, and the guy is down and rolling on the floor.
I didn't expect this at the end because, I mean, I have to say it was a lot more satisfying than what I thought. But the fact that they're taping him up and he's like, all I have to do is survive for 30 seconds and I get the points. I was ready for him to just run around in circles as this guy chased him, trying to hit him.
We got 30 seconds.
But it was much more satisfying to watch him kick this guy in the face and totally knock this dude out. So they are getting close. They're like within, I guess, striking distance. Because I guess if he lost, I guess the whole thing would be over. And you've trained for 3 months to not fight these last two competitors. But now Tommy has a chance to avenge his brother, possibly kill a man if he really feels like it.
Yeah.
And also
really
maybe win a gold medal at not the Olympics.
Right.
Oh, I don't think this is the Olympics because later when James Earl Jones is rattling off these Korean guys' accomplishments, he does mention how they won gold at the Olympics.
Oh, okay. So I mean,
unless he's talking about 4 years ago, I don't think. Okay. I think this is just some
kind of intense competition.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Some sort of national competition. Okay. Okay.
International competition.
International. Excuse me, or just national.
No, it's just
Korea on the west side of I don't know.
So there's a lot of punching and a lot of kicking and really a lot of Tommy doing really well.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
spinning
their best fighter.
And kicking. He does get an illegal hit to the balls. That's an illegal hit.
Oh, Tommy does?
Yeah. He doesn't give it. He gets it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say sometimes they just get in the way. Like it might not have been intentional. But he's doing really well and he's racking up the points. And the other guy gets another illegal hit, I think, to the eyes.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Gets him in the eyes, I think, yeah.
And this is the one that the ref misses. And Ahmad Rashad, because they flew him around the world to announce this on site, is very upset by it. And so then, after they go to their separate corners, Tommy comes out like some kind of caged animal and beats this guy so senseless that his eye patch flies off his head and both of his eyes like roll back. He's like a standing corpse.
Yeah, he's in a bad way.
And they're 1 point down. The Americans are 1 point down. And half the people are like, murder this guy, kill him. But he looks over at James Earl Jones and James Earl Jones says, no.
They all say no. Eric Roberts.
Yes, they all say no. And my problem was, what if you just push him over?
That was my thing. I'm like, he's so like, and he could win. He could KO him if he just, and all he has to do is lightly tap his shoulder.
Right. Yes.
Blow
you
on
don't
him.
have to land some sort of death blow.
You don't have to murder
and
him.
Make this guy's children orphans. Like, just elbow him. Nudge him a little bit. It probably still counts as a point. And if it comes down to some kind of like cinder block breaking, this guy couldn't even stand up. You're going to win that. I understand why they're doing this. I get it. I understand that there needs to be some like crazy emotional payoff here, but we already had it with Eric Roberts. Yeah. This is why I think they're two main characters, and these are two movies jammed together. We don't need another emotional triumph. But
boy,
we get
boy,
it.
Is this one emotional. Boy, oh boy.
So emotional.
So
because he just walks away and then I guess a gong sounds. I know that kind of sounded racist, but it might be what happens at the end of this. And then, the eye patch guy falls over and Korea wins. Great. And America loses. And now there's a big medal ceremony.
Oh, and what a medal ceremony. What a dramatic ceremony.
Wow.
Now, these champs who seem to be kind of cold-blooded Koreans, right? Like when we see them on the video, they are just like like
They're killing machines.
Yeah.
James Earl Jones at one point is like, they've killed a bunch of people.
Yeah. Because that's the kind of competitors they are.
Right.
But they were moved. This
Yes.
patch guy starts crying and says, basically tells Tommy, like apologizes to Tommy and says like, I don't know, apologizes about saying how when he killed his brother, it's rested on his mind. It's been on his mind for all this time. And that
this is the point in the movie where I was like, where has this great actor been the whole movie?
Yeah.
Why have I been spending time?
Why didn't we see more of this guy?
Put this guy and James Earl Jones in some sort of buddy cop movie. I would watch it.
I'm into it. But keep the patch though, so we're not confused.
Oh no, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, he apologizes. He gives his medal to Tommy, who gets upset. Then all of the players give their medals to all of the players. And it's a very unique and very beautiful exchange of medals. Everyone is crying. All the players are teared up. Eric Roberts.
All the players on both teams.
Both teams.
Everyone watching this. We don't see Ahmad Rashad anymore, but I assume he's in tears. Like, it is affecting everyone. Those people at the bar in Detroit, maybe, that are watching
this.
this.
That's right. We got people watching it on the TV. It's emotional. And
it is extremely emotional. And also something that I appreciate more and more when I watch these movies from the 80s is
the freeze frame ending.
Movies. What?
A freeze frame ending?
I mean,
which is
first
what
of all,
get.
we kind of we know we're getting that in like 30% of these movies we watch. But and I hate to be a person who's like, well, in movies today, you don't blah blah blah. I kind of hate to say stuff like that, even though I might sometimes. Man, you don't get an ending that is this abrupt anymore. Like, there would be a not a post-credit sequence. Like, we'd have to go back for him trying to teach his kid how to ride a bike again because now he has a broken leg, and we'd see his arm in a sling, and his mom would be like, hey, so your physical therapy's going really well, and I'm sure you're going to... Like, none of that. It is freeze frame, done, roll credits, get out. We're finished, and I love it.
It's beautiful. Yes. It's best of the best. Yeah.
It is best of the best. You kind of talked about your feelings, but I think you did that for the patrons. So I'll go first. Okay. This movie's stupid, but I kind of had fun watching a total stupid movie. Like I didn't expect much from this. The acting is painful to watch at times, but I think that's kind of the charm of this.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think this is anything I will ever go back to. But strangely enough, for as much as Eric Roberts bothered me, I have not looked into Best of the Best 2, 3, or 4. But if he's not in them, I don't think I'm going to watch them.
You're not going to watch them. You're not. No. Let's be honest. And they're not in the 80s, so you don't need to for our sake.
Oh, they're not? Oh, wait, no.
Well, no,
because
it's 89.
Not unless they made it 5 weeks later. They're like, okay, freeze frame on you guys, and now let's start filming Best of the Best 2.
Yeah. We're in it. Let's do. Yeah, patrons know I want to say it's not my type of movie, but I do like those Jean-Claude Van Damme movies when we watch them. So, and I mentioned this earlier too, that my dad used to really like this movie. So I was trying to find reasons and ways to like it, or at least uncover what he liked about it. I'm maybe even like, the sensitivity of these macho men is what my dad was drawn to. I don't know. But as you said, the acting, Eric Roberts is just not a good actor. But it's almost entertaining to watch his bad acting. And you talked about several times how with the two main characters, this movie is just like, what is happening? But at the same time, because you're following these two stories, it flows. You're like, okay, well, now we're on to this. And so many montages that, do I need to watch this movie again? No, probably not. Would I have been fine not having seen it? Yeah, probably. There's plenty of other movies my dad has been into that I would rather research and get in all about. But for the sake of this podcast, this is what happens. This movie was kind of entertaining to watch in that kind of a sense, and like
that's exactly what it is. It's entertaining to watch in that. I mean, I thought Eric Roberts was, and I feel like we talked about it at the time. I thought he was very good in Star 80. Like he's playing a
Because
creep.
he's so damn creepy.
Yes, exactly.
And maybe
And
that
it's just
too, because we did that Star 80, like I wasn't a big fan of Eric Roberts before, but that's the Eric Roberts that's the taste in your mouth. You know, when you eat something and you're like, oh,
yes,
I can't ever eat carrot cake again because I had that one bad one.
But also, it's almost like one of those things where I talked about earlier, like Pope of Greenwich Village, and it's just like watching him here. I couldn't help but watch him going, "What happened? Like, what happened here? Like, was he never a good actor?" And he just settled into these kind of mediocre roles or mediocre films, or did something happen to him?
Is it us?
Between those?
Maybe
is it
we
us?
see him as
it's
a bad
not
actor,
us.
but
It's not us because it's not like he's doing anything now where he was.
Well, you said he's got over 600 films on his IMDb.
Jamie, listen, you saw what he was in some of those films. You read, that he was credited as, I don't know, waiter number 2 or something like that, or creepy doctor or something. But no, it's just, again, he's a working actor, so he can show up and he can deliver his lines and he must not be drunk all the time. But it's like, it's one of those interesting things where I guess this is so far back and I didn't live through, them trying to prop up Eric Roberts as being something. I just don't know what happened. And I'm sure there are other actors that this happens to all the time, but
like Stephen Dorff.
Yes, exactly. I saw Stephen Dorff in The Gate. He was fantastic. What happened to him? Why is he doing e-cigarette ads? All right. Listen, I'm going to make a recommendation.
Okay.
And this recommendation, Jamie, is specifically for you and your husband at some point.
Okay.
I guess it can be for our audience too, but I had a whole other movie picked out. But just all this Eric Roberts talk. There is a movie. It is called A Talking Cat, ? Exclamation point, question mark, I think at the end of it.
Oh.
Yes. It is a movie. I guess it's made for kids.
Okay.
A guy who directs this movie directs a lot of pornography, and it almost looks like a porn. Like at any moment, the characters might start having sex, but
the cat might have sex. Wait, is it a
No,
cartoon?
hold
I'm
on.
so confused.
No,
it's
listen.
a kid movie made by a porn guy about a cat.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guy who churns out his directing is like Eric Roberts' acting. He's directed hundreds of movies, and most of it's like softcore porn. But every now and then he just does different things. So the reason I want you to watch this movie, you don't need to watch the whole thing. This movie is about people that are not professional actors at all, but they have, they're all having problems, and the problems are just superficial. Like the one guy retired because he made millions of dollars, and now he doesn't know what to do with his time. And the one boy likes the girl who's like the neighbor, but he doesn't know how to talk to her, blah, blah, blah.
All right.
So a cat shows up in their lives. It's just a regular cat, seemingly just filmed wandering around set, wandering around outside. Eric Roberts does the voice of this cat.
Oh,
it is just, Eric Roberts sounds like he is hammered.
Oh,
Recording his dialogue in his bathroom. It's echoey. It doesn't make any sense at all. It sounds so lazy, but I've never seen anything funnier than this movie.
Sounds like an excellent recommendation.
It is wild. It's insane. I think it's just on Amazon Prime. Like you can find it. Okay. You're not going to make it through the whole thing. It's such a terrible, terrible movie. But just to listen to Eric Roberts like lazily be like, well, look at these people here. I guess I have to help them out with their lives. I'm just the cat, I guess. It is so bizarre. And those are the types of movies that he's doing now.
Oh.
Yeah, a talking cat, and again, there's question marks, exclamation points after it. It's a wild ride. You need to check it out.
Well, it is. It sounds like it is.
Yeah,
good one.
Yeah.
Wait, what made you stumble upon it?
Well, it's from hearing about it from other people.
Okay,
who have talked about how bad it is.
Okay.
So one day, and this is maybe the way to watch this. So if this does come up at some point, I was very sick. I had quite a fever, and I was on the couch, and I was just laying down in the basement, and I stumbled upon it, and I went, oh, I've heard this is really terrible. And just being in and out of
Yeah.
a fever and everything, like it was the perfect thing to watch at that time.
Love it.
Because it really was like the next day, I was like, I think I watched that movie, but I could have just dreamed something very insane. So that's my really crazy recommendation. What about you?
Well, I too have an Eric Roberts recommendation.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, it's there's a show. I think it's on HBO now. It's in its second season. It's the Righteous Gemstones. I might have talked about it before. It's a Danny McBride show.
I have heard it's very good. You have not talked about it, but I've heard
It
it's good.
is.
And I heard he's really good.
Yeah. So the first season, it's a very raunchy show. I will say that. And there's times that I need a break from it because sometimes just too much of none of the characters are. It's like Danny McBride style, right? So none of the characters have any like good qualities about them. They're all kind of bad guys or whatever, or not likable people, I guess. The second season though features and John Goodman's in it, and it's about this. It's I guess sort of true to like Christian evangelists, and there's this family of they're the Gemstones that like own this Christian theme park, and they're one of those like those Christian that make a lot of money and then
Like the Joel Osteens
Yes, exactly.
and Pat. No, I almost said Pat Morita. That's not right.
That's
The
not
Jimmy
right. Don't
Swaggarts.
bring him. But yes,
Right.
yes.
Yes.
So, and it is funny. It's cleverly done. Danny McBride is really great in it. But in the second season, Eric Roberts comes into play and is like a friend of John Goodman's. And it's an interesting friendship that they have. And believe it or not, for all this, we're saying what a great terrible actor Eric Roberts is. He does a pretty good role. Again, he's kind of a sleazy guy, but he does a good job in his role in it. I think you would like it. I think I have to take breaks from it, especially in season 2, because they're just not good people.
All right. But maybe it really is a material thing and not an acting thing.
I don't know.
Like he's
It's
just
not,
making
I wouldn't
poor
say
decisions.
that he's like, oh my God, what a role. He's playing a sleazy guy, so maybe that's just what comes a little more naturally.
Maybe that's what he needs to do.
Yeah.
He does a series of Lifetime movies.
Oh, of course.
I haven't seen any of them, called Stalked by My Doctor, and he plays
Is he
a
the
creepy
doctor?
doctor.
Oh
Yes.
my God, Eric Roberts, what is happening? Let's do a side podcast. We could with all those
holy
credits
shit.
he's got.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
640 some titles? We'd be doing that well beyond the time we die.
But would we enjoy it as much as we do this whole decade of with some Eric Roberts sprinkled
I don't know.
in?
Yeah. If somebody out there has or knows of an Eric Roberts podcast, let me know. Because they must be doing like 10 movies at a time, and they're probably in their 7th year of it now. They're like, I don't know, we have 20 more to go.
He's forever. And then we can move on to Emma.
Well, anyway, we are going to move on.
Okay.
Jamie, in 2 weeks, we'll be back.
That's right.
And I always feel like it's been so long because we did all those, we did our summer of blah, 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 and we have these Patreon requests. Oh, this was a patron suggested episode
Yes, it was.
by Christian. I forgot to mention that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Christian.
Last time, Enter the Dragon. This time, Best of the Best. I hope he has some sort of kicking and punching movie lined up for us next time. Although I think he did give us DC Cab first,
thank you.
That was quite a treat too.
Yeah.
So our next episode is going to come out on March 18th, which is, I guess it's like the Aphrodite Day.
Okay.
Which I didn't know that that's a thing, but it is. And she is the goddess of fertility. Jamie, so we're going to talk about she's having a baby.
Yeah, we are. Is that Kevin Bacon? Yeah.
Elizabeth McGovern, Alec Baldwin. Oh, boy. We're really going from, I'm assuming, one extreme to another. I doubt anyone gets a shoulder separation or punched in the face in this movie.
Grouper. It's Grouper. That's from the movie, I believe. But we'll find out.
Oh, I don't know this. I've never seen it.
Oh. Well, it's
A
coming
grouper,
at
like
us.
a fish?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to it then. Yes, but that will be in 2 weeks' time. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you haven't rated the show, reviewed us, all that stuff that we never, ever talk about, please do so. And we will see you again in 2 weeks. Have a great 2 weeks.
Hiya!
Goodbye.
Karate chop the ending there.
Someone will lose, someone must win. Only the strong will survive. Reach for the best you have within. There is no compromise. You have to stand up and fight when the challenge is right. Through the tears and the pain, still a glory remains. You have a vision in sight. Put yourself to the test. Be the best of the best. The best of the best. Be the best you can be. The best of the best.
I can hold him up for 30 seconds. God damn it, I said, David! Ah!
It was an enlarged heart, which
Oh.
I guess. Aw.
I mean, at the end of this movie, his heart did grow 3 sizes.
It did.